Welcome to Modern Sages. This is our third episode on our foundation series. We felt like this foundation series was very necessary just to help everyone establish some basic principles of ways of how to incorporate the shamanic path into everyday life. And so for this one, Jen and I are going to be talking about some of our spiritual routines, our daily spiritual routines that help us come back into remembrance and establish balance in our lives. Welcome to Modern Sages Podcast.
I'm Jenn Gilbreth.
And I'm Candace Coons.
With over 25 years combined, we have delivered messages from beyond,
explored ancient healing wisdom, and integrated these profound teachings into our everyday life.
We are passionate about creating new ways of being human in the modern age by integrating the wisdom of the past with the present and coming into remembrance of who we truly are.
Are you ready to change your relationship to life itself? If the answer is yes, your journey begins now.
Yes, this is going to be an amazing topic and so much fun insight to be shared. Before doing so, we wanted to jump into our herb of the week, as always, and we're going to be talking about Oregon grape, which is one herb that has been really known to help a lot with children. Is when children have flus and sickness and colds. I feel like Oregon grape is a go-to, especially when it comes for children. It's just perfect in that way.
Yeah, because it has antibiotic, anti-inflammatory qualities. It's antifungal. So it's so wonderful, but it sounds way more delicious than it really is.
Yeah, not the best tasting
grapes. No, you don't eat these grapes. They're very tiny. And the medicinal properties don't come from the grape. They come from the bark and the root. So I find that really interesting. And they grow all along the western coast.
Yeah.
From like Alaska all the way down. So, along Seattle, Oregon, California. So that's interesting too. But they have little spikes around the leaves, which can, what you were mentioning to me earlier, that a lot of people plant those grapes on the boundary of their property when they want to keep animals out of their flowers or their herbs or their gardens, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, because they're so sharp. And so they're like this perfect protection, this barrier. They do really well when it comes to a lot of wind, as well as sea or salt mist. So with the ocean being very salty and in the air,
sturdy,
they can withstand all of that. And in fact, that helps with their growth. It doesn't hinder their growth in that space. And so it's kind of cool too, because in general, Oregon grape. So in January and like February, they bloom and they're these really cute little yellow, they just look like little bells. And what's crazy about this is they bloom so early, but they also are here to help like pre-pollinate with the bees. So they're there to help bring like food and survival for these bees before the spring season starts. And then once the other flowers start to bloom, they kind of just disappear. And then their little grapes show up. And those grapes they don't taste very well. And a lot of people don't really eat them, but you can use them if you wanted to make like fruit leather. A lot of ancient practices, they would use that as fruit leather. There are a lot of Oregon grape wines. So you can do that. You can cook the berries or the grapes with meat, like in with the meat. Supposedly that's supposed to be really good. And it's actually interesting because you can chew on the bark of the tree. And that's also supposed to help like with lymph nodes and all that kind of stuff. So it has a lot of just different random, benefits, but it's kind of cool how there's different seasons. Yeah, it's like different seasons and different purposes for what they bring.
Such a sturdy plant.
Yeah.
Such a functional plant on so many levels. And it also is great for the skin. You can use its medicinal qualities for the skin, like there's inflammation, rashes, helps heal wounds. So it can also be used as a tonic for the skin as well. So gosh, what an awesome thing to plant in your yard, because it only supports our physical bodies, but it also supports
The
the bees
environment.
and the
Yeah.
environment and everything else too. So
Well, and it's
awesome,
really
awesome
great.
plant.
Yeah, it's really great. A lot of people, it's known for kids to help kids with colds,
Mm-hmm.
coughs, like Candace was saying, antifungal, bacterial. I know a lot of people will use umka as well with children with sickness and colds. I know my sister Christy, whenever her kids get sick, she uses umka a lot. And so today I was like, oh, have you ever tried Oregon grape? She's like, no. So I was kind of telling her about that because it's very similar in different ways. And so there's a lot of natural ways you can help with aiding in helping your body heal better quicker.
Absolutely. So cool. I
Yes.
love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, today is really awesome too, because we're kind of giving people some ideas
Yeah.
of how to integrate this lifestyle into their everyday lives. Because it's, a lot of times when we talk about spiritual things, it can feel very conceptual, it feels very cognitive. It's so important that we integrate these practices in our everyday life, and everything that we talk about on Modern Sages is meant to be integrated. It's meant to be used. It's meant to shift your relationship to life itself, to bring balance and beauty and harmony into your life. So I feel like this topic is so foundational,
Absolutely.
because it can kind of give some examples of how to do that, how you do it, how I do it. So I don't know. How about you want to start this one and
Yeah.
talk about like what you do for your daily practice?
Yes. Well, I try. So, what I have found very effective for myself is even ever since I was little, I have always been someone who has wanted to be an author. I was always writing poems. I have stories. Luckily, at my school, they had them where you could write stories and they'd bind them into like actual books. So I have like 3 or 4 of those. I was constantly writing plays and poems and just all kinds of things. And I have found that as I move forward into my adult life, really connecting into writing has been my biggest way of feeding myself spiritually. And so I try to take time every day to journal. So let's just go through the morning. When I wake up in the morning, I typically, because our body is so important and we are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual being or multidimensional, yes.
Yes.
Um, I really love to start my day with I have a green supplement drink. It's called Vital. So I have my ice water, I put in my green powder, and then I put in a cinnamate, which is yerba mate and cinnamon. And so I mix those two together. Sometimes I'll put in like an Advent green, which has a little more greens to it as well. But in the morning, I always wake up and I have that. That's like the first thing that I do. And then I do have different supplements that I take as well, like a probiotic. Right now, I'm on ashwagandha and some other things just for helping out with my body and balancing and all the different things. So I have that going. And a lot of times I'm getting into this routine where when I would have sessions, it was easy to get myself aligned, to pray, to meditate, to get myself in right, to then help other people. But when I'm not having that, I have found that it's harder for me to put that time aside to prepare myself spiritually every day. And so now I've tried to make it a goal that after I take my dogs to the dog park, before anything else, we'll go to the gym or the dog park, depending upon the day. And then I always try to just go straight into my office. And I have this little space over here where I have my oracle cards, I have my runes, I have my journal. I'll light my candle, depending upon if I want an incense or my diffuser. I try to just incorporate earth into my daily practice as well. And I have found that when I pray and when I light a candle or I light an incense, when I give myself permission to just incorporate Mother Earth, I have found so much deeper meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I can start my day with just breath work, with 5 deep breaths, or if I imagine this tube of light just coming straight down, I say a prayer to Father Sky, to Mother Earth. I call upon the directions. I offer gratitude and prayer. And that's like, once I'm done with that, I feel so much more aligned. Where, regardless of what I'm doing, when I give myself that space, I feel so much better. And let's say over the
Mhm.
weekend, we went to Six Flags. So in the morning, I didn't wake up and pray and meditate. But when I was in the car, I was still trying to be very mindful before going into a hectic place. So
Yes.
we were listening to calming music. I was closing my eyes, just taking breath work, watching the window, like looking at the window at the greenery, saying prayers of gratitude. But it was really bringing that sense of home. It's like bringing myself back here. And breath work is the best tool that I have found. And then
Mhm.
I absolutely love having my journal. So I'll just start writing whatever's coming to my mind. And I have found that if I'm not trying to find an answer, I just start to write or doodle, all of a sudden I'll have this download of information. And maybe I'm like, oh, I want to look at this or I want to look at this. So then I'm, have my different books, different tools that I'm looking at when I have that set time aside. Another thing that I take a lot of time doing is on our Modern Sages YouTube. We follow a lot of different spiritual teachers and leaders. And maybe when I'm doing the dishes or the laundry, I'll actually just look on the feed of whatever's there. And I'm sure you probably do the same thing.
I do too.
And whatever I'm drawn to, I click on it. And so, I'm constantly listening to spiritual topics, new ways of living life, new expectations. I have so many different books in my Audible that are all like shaman teachings or different things like that. So whenever I feel drawn to listening to something, I just have that on hand so that I can spend time uplifting myself. And I do that because I am one who typically has a lot of anxiety and I can overthink things to the next level. So let's say I had a conversation with someone. I am the type of person who will rethink about that conversation over and over and over again until I make myself sick. Like, I should have said this and this and this. I don't do that as much now because I've had different spiritual tools that have really helped me
Yes.
pull out of the
Get in your
drama.
body and get in your
Yeah.
body in the present.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So that's a big thing. And having those things that I'm constantly doing is so powerful, is having those uplifting things, whether it's like listening to a tarot reading or a shaman teaching or practices or whatever it is on YouTube. That's one of the biggest things as well, that
Love
I
it.
have found has very helpful for my spiritual experience. And working out is a big thing. I don't always do it, but when I do work out, I feel so much better. So, those are just a few of the practices that I try to incorporate every day. I'm not perfect. And when I start feeling very out of balance, or when I start eating really bad, or I'm not working out, I feel an energy shift inside
Yes.
and I know it's time to change.
Those four legs are coming out of balance. And
Mm-hmm.
the things that I was noticing as you're talking about all those routines is that you're addressing all those four legs of the multidimensional self, that physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, bringing balance, acknowledging those four areas and bringing balance in those four areas in your life. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect every
Yeah, I'm
day
not
or
perfect at all.
yeah, and that there's not going to be an imbalance a little bit here and there, but it's like I think when you bring yourself back to that awareness and say, okay, what am I doing physically to take care of myself? What am I doing emotionally to take care of myself? What am I doing mentally to take care of myself? What am I doing spiritually to take care of myself?
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you incorporate those questions and then integrate every day those tools that you have, it naturally starts to create more balance and you can feel it. You feel more grounded and
Mm-hmm.
centered and peaceful. And then if you do go off balance, you know how to get back on too, because you start
Yeah.
asking yourself, okay, what have I done? Which leg am I out of balance with? Where do I need to put a little bit more energy into
Yeah.
to bring in some more balance? And so
Well, and
I love this way of
yeah.
living because there's a
Uh-huh.
strategy. There really
Yeah.
is a solid strategy to follow to
Yeah.
help
Well,
you
and
incorporate that.
even thinking how so many people will wake up and have a cup of coffee, right? Like that's just
Mhm.
part of their daily routine. And
That's me.
I used to love, love, love
That's
coffee.
me.
Yes. I just found that I would spend too much money on it. And then also I when I drink coffee, I find myself not eating enough and then binging. Like it's just like harder for me to find a balance when I'm drinking coffee. And so I've been off it for about 5 weeks now. But instead of just not doing it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have my Vital and my
Your
Cinnamate.
herbs.
And so I have it right in the morning. The first thing I do when I get up is I make myself that, because it's still the routine of, I love to go get coffee in the mornings. It was so relaxing and just so fun and a great way to start the day. But even thinking about, like, I know with you is you'll have your coffee and you'll be listening to calming music and breathing for a moment, instead of just like taking that as like your sacred time before life gets crazy, especially
Well,
for
and also
moms.
too, yeah, and coffee bean is a medicinal.
It is really, yeah.
And it affects
It's so
everybody's body
beneficial.
differently. And if you're one like you will pick up so much energy around you. So like even you were talking about going to Six Flags, it's so important that you prepare yourself for that, because you're picking up all of that energy and you naturally feel that anxiety and that rush and that overstimulation. It's something that you felt your whole life. So then you add a stimulant, an herb that is a stimulant to the body, that can throw your energetics off balance. For me, my body is sluggish. I usually struggle with depression and low, especially I'm slow to get going in the morning. So the caffeine doesn't seem to affect my energetics the same way
Can I
as it
pause?
does affect yours.
We have a raven that's literally just landed on the thing and is just staring at us.
How cool.
Oh my
And you know what this
gosh.
symbolizes? A raven is about walking your talk,
How funny.
speaking your truth, saying like, this is what I know to be true, and I live what I know to be true. So it's so
Just
perfect
flew
timing.
away, but it was like,
Hi,
just
Raven.
staring at us.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what we're doing.
Thank you. Yes.
We're walking our talk. So I just love what you shared. And there's so many things that you and I have in common. And this is, I think, why too we're such great soul sisters.
Well, and I learned it
each
from
other's
you.
journey.
I learned all
Well,
this from you.
even like you talk about your writing and everything, I just so relate to. But so in the morning, how I usually start my spiritual daily routine to help me stay centered is I definitely am a coffee drinker. I love coffee, girl. Don't take anything, take it whatever you want, but don't take my coffee. Like I love my coffee so much. That
I
is my
love it
southern roots in
too.
me.
I do too. I think it just overstimulates my adrenals.
It does. It does.
Like to the next level. So I'm like, oh, it's so sad.
Does. Listen,
So
though.
sad.
And there's other alternatives. There's
Yeah.
other things that you can do.
Yeah.
But I usually start with that. I really try to keep myself quiet when I wake up. So as my coffee is brewing, I usually light my candles. I light an incense. I turn on soft music. Sometimes I turn soft music on, sometimes I don't, but I definitely light my candles and my incense. And then I will sit on the couch and just wrap myself up in my blanket with my dog. And then when my coffee's ready, I sit there and I do a mindfulness practice. And so this is my morning thing every day. I have a coffee mindfulness practice where I sit with my cup of coffee and I just connect in with the five senses. It almost feels like all the engines are turning on, like I'm preparing my vehicle for the day. It's like, how's the scent, working today? How is the taste? How is the vision? What do I see? What do I feel? And it just helps me be really awake and present to my life. I notice that if I start out that way, I'm so much more grounded because I have such a strong mental body. And if I don't bring awareness to my physical body, sometimes I have a hard time grounding myself. I feel almost like a dreamy, kind of almost like a dream state. So, and then I get caught in my thoughts of the past and the future. And then I get in my to-dos list and I start organizing my work because I'm a worker bee. So that is so important for me to help me get out, to not automatically go into that mental body, but to get into my physical and to really embrace my life, being here in this body and being with my dog and being with the coffee and being with the smells and the senses and the sounds and just really tuning into the present moment. It's such a powerful practice. And
Absolutely.
I'll focus on the breath as well, which it really helps me ground, just breathing in the nose and out of the mouth and just being, it's so simple and so powerful every time.
So
It always
powerful.
blows my mind kind of. I'm like, how come a breath practice? The
Well, it's
foundation
just
meditation can
human.
be so powerful, but it
It's
is,
just
and it's so
human nature to
simple.
make everything
Like, are
so
you breathing,
complicated.
people? Are you breathing? So, because it's like we are, but we aren't, we hold our breath
Mhm,
and we breathe
mhm.
fast. And so bringing that attention every morning and starting my day off with my breath and mindfulness practice is central to my day.
Yep, me too.
From there, I usually go into my yoga practice. And I'm not a yoga instructor, so don't look to me as an expert. This is just something I've been doing for years that helps me. I feel that yoga is a form of sacred geometry. And so I use yoga to help me balance the energies of my body and to set intention. And instead of following someone else's practice, which I did for years, I'd follow other people. What I decided to do was listen to my body. And I said, okay, where does my body need to stretch more or to have less pain? So I created like a 45-minute practice that just focuses on my body. So I usually focus on my hip flexors. I have a tilted pelvis. So I get a lot of lower back pain and hip and knee. And when I started creating my own practice for that, I don't have any hip pain and I don't have any knee pain. And I was a runner for years.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But it was because I was tight in my hip flexors and my lower back. So I focus on a lot of like stretching, twisting, hip area, core area kinds of practices. And that has been awesome. I noticed that after I do my yoga, and I forgot to mention, before I do my yoga practice, I always create sacred space. Because I feel like my yoga practice is a sacred area and my mat is sacred. That space turns from a yoga practice to a meditation and journaling and channeling.
Yeah.
So I create sacred space before I do yoga. And then I use essential oils, and I will use essential oils on my mat every day.
Do
So
you have
I
a favorite that you use?
I love frankincense. I usually use frankincense, lavender, and lemon. Those are my go-tos. They're not necessarily my favorite essential oils, but it seems like if I use those on my mat, it's a perfect balance of getting my energy, of helping me feel that vitality and energy for my practice, and yet grounding. That frankincense helps me ground and yet connect to spirit. And the lemon helps like
Awaken.
awaken. If I'm going through a lot of stress in my life at that time, there's a lot of things going on. Sometimes I'll use lavender, but most of the time it's like frankincense and lemon. I noticed.
I feel like I should try to get into that. Like, that's a good way of seeing it, is like the yoga and the stretching and like bringing that into like a sense of sacred space. Cause every time I've tried yoga, I just get so bored. I'm
Well,
like,
and the energy
when is this
shifted
going
with
to be
yoga.
over?
Yeah. And this is what bugs me. And I love yoga,
Yeah.
but I feel like people have taken this ancient wisdom and they've made it so focused, so body conscious, where people are trying to lose weight or they're having or it's very competitive. Sometimes the energy in the room's competitive, or
Yeah.
and I feel like the energy focus has shifted. It's like yoga was meant to balance the body, to bring healing, rejuvenation, and balance to the body. Yoga means union between body, mind, and spirit. And so what I love about doing it in my practice, I ask my body, what do you want? And
I'm
I
going
don't
to try
follow
that.
like an instructor. I just like, what do you need? What am I feeling into with my body? Like, where do I need
Right.
to stretch and move? Sometimes I will move my body and dance as well, but I just really try to tune into what does my body need today? And that
Yeah.
changes it. Like, then it becomes pleasurable. It's not like this something you got to
You're like,
push through and get through
when's
the
the time
class.
gonna
Oh
be
my
done?
gosh, how much longer? How many more sun salutations? So it's like, how many more chaturangas? But it's like, if you're doing it on your own, you're like, I don't feel like I need chaturanga today. I feel like I need one more downward dog, or I feel like I need one more warrior pose, or I feel like I need to do the tree pose one more time, or I feel like I need to do forward bend and stay here a couple more breaths. I'm not feeling the release of my back yet. There's no pressure. And then you're turning into what your body is telling you.
Mm,
And for me, that is what really makes the difference
I'm gonna
when
take
it
that in.
comes. And I like, if probably a yoga instructor came and said, hey, you're not doing that position right, but I do the best I can. I look at it and I just listen to my body.
Absolutely.
So after I do my yoga practice, it's interesting because even during the yoga practice, I start feeling like I get downloads. So I do the same as you. I feel like I need to journal. Or what I do is the audio, because if I don't have a pen or I just got my nails done and it's hard for me to type, I will use the audio on the docs and then just talk into my docs and just write down or talk in my journal, talk into what I'm receiving that
That's
day,
a
that
good
inspiration.
that's a good idea too, because a lot of people have a block in their throat where they
Mm-hmm.
actually don't give themselves permission to hear their voice or to express it. And so even you having the option of like you speaking it out loud, like that's so powerful. That is such great insight that
It brings
anyone
it
can
all the way through
do.
the chakras. It brings it
Yeah.
from your sacral all the way up through the heart, through your throat, opens up
Yeah.
all the other ones. It brings in that creative flow
That's a great idea.
by speaking it out loud. So that's what works for me. And then after that, of course, I get ready for my day. And like you, the mind needs something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the nature of the mind, is that the mind will take over your life if it's not disciplined. It's sort of like a spoiled teenager at times, where it's like, if you don't give it boundaries or structure, it tends to kind of turn in on itself, especially for someone with such an active mental body like me.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have found is that it's important for me to give it structure. And so my routines are very important to me. So I keep my mind aligned with my mission or my purpose or what my goals are, because if not, it goes on a tangent and it will turn in on itself. so
Mm.
so what I do is I do what you do too, where I have audiobooks, conversations I listen to in the background when I'm doing busy work. I have tools throughout my day, so that way I'm bringing myself back into my center. Even if I get pulled off, I have reminders with the people that I listen to. I love Muji. He's fantastic. There's so many wonderful spiritual teachers or audiobooks, things on shamanism as you. We
Mm-hmm.
love studying herbs. Herb is a great way to
Mm-hmm.
keep your mind busy and learning. Learning a language,
Yeah.
having high frequency music on, remembering to dance while you work or staying busy while you work. I feel like those things are so important to kind of like place as placeholders,
Yeah.
throughout the day. And at the end of the day, do something to bring me back again, sort of like bookmark. I have my beginning part of my day,
Mm.
but then I've also got something right at the end that brings me back. So I use, again, essential oils for my bed. Um, I'll listen to a talk or an audio or watch something that's more spiritually minded right before I go to bed. Even if I watch a movie or something else, sometimes I fall asleep, but I try
Mm-hmm.
to put something towards the end of the day to bring me back again
I like
before the end
that.
of the day.
Yeah.
And then focus on gratitude. I find gratitude practice is fantastic at the end of the day as well.
Right.
If you don't have time to listen to something, just think of 3 things that you're grateful for. And that also keeps that heart space open and keeps that flow going.
Yeah. And I noticed that, and honestly, for my spiritual practice every day, is I have to take downtime. Like I section my day off because for me, I have like a certain number of words in a day And then when I'm done talking, I'm done talking.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have sessions, depending on what that looks like I kind of even schedule out, okay, I'm going to call my sisters or my parents or whoever this is at this time. Like I'm going to,
Like
it's
spread it
in
out.
my mind frame. I have these words. I'm going to use these words if I have extra words, right? Which sounds so funny for some people, but it's just truth for me. Like yesterday, I had 2 sessions and I was out of words. I was like, I can't call anyone, talk to anyone. I'm just out of words today. So I plan my day around how many words I'm going to be able to just energetically control, like energetically get out, because that's a big thing for me, as well as taking time in between things. So I do have a slower energy. And if I force myself to go, 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 my body shuts down. My spiritual connection, my spirituality, how I view life, it goes numb, it dulls out. And so I find even laying on the couch for 30 minutes or watching a movie or watching an episode of something.
Yes.
And I watch a lot of shows that are not intense. Like we have this joke in our house. I have like 4 series that I watch. No, like 5, let's say 5. Heartland, yes. I like The Office, Parks and Rec, Raising Hope, and Office, Parks and Rec, Raising Hope, and How I Met Your Mother. And I will literally have these 5 in like rotation for myself. But I can't watch scary shows, scary movies, intense things. Like every now and then we will, like on the weekends and stuff. But like I can't add that into my life. Like heavy music, murder mysteries, like anything like that just doesn't flow. Like that's not, I just can't have it in my life. It's too intense. So when I need
Mm-hmm.
downtime, I will watch other things too. But like if I don't want to have to like learn or think about anything, it's like one of those 5 shows that I'll put on that just helps me decompress, relax. There are a lot of times I'll do a meditation, a guided meditation, and lay down for 30 minutes. It's really cute. My little dog, Ozzy, he has become a meditation buddy. So in the middle of the day, I'll say, Ozzy, let's go lay down. Let's go meditate. And he'll come and like lay right by me. And my other dog,
Cute.
Murphy, the second I put on relaxing music, he's like, ugh, like he literally does that. He
He knows what that
huffs
means.
and then he jumps off the bed and goes into a different room where Ozzy's like,
That
okay,
is
let's
so
let's
cute.
relax. But I have to incorporate that in my day or my body slows down, I shut down, I get overwhelmed, I get overworked. And then I have mega burnout if I don't take time for myself every single day in that way.
Gosh, I so relate because I noticed that especially with doing spiritual work, it's just so important to pace
Mm-hmm.
yourself because you can, once you get burnout, people don't realize that doing energy work and doing healing
It's
work and mediumship is
exhausting.
exhausting. It's really, it charges up the nervous system and it wears the body down. So you do have to pace yourself. And that reminds me, one of the things I incorporated too is hammock time.
Yes, you have.
So I have, yeah, I have this
I
hammock
wish I
in my
had
new
that in
place.
my
I
space.
love it. It's my new
Mm-hmm.
favorite. You could probably get one for your porch, but anyway, I try to go out there after I eat, and I will just sit under my maple tree in the hammock or in the sunshine, depending on the weather. But that for me, for whatever reason, is a life changer. It puts me right back in my center. It helps me completely relax. And so the hammock is just amazing tool for me to help me establish balance. So I place it in the middle of my day. So that way, I'm taking that time out to rest in between the projects and
Yeah.
work that we have. Another thing too of incorporating herbs, I take herbs in the morning
Mm-hmm.
before breakfast. And so I always take the Dr. Christopher's lower bowel formula. That is my foundational herb formula that I take every single day. It's just such a wonderful all around herb. And then I will do other herbs depending on what my body is needing, which
Yeah.
changes, you know. The other thing I notice that helps me establish balance is trying to eat more healthful and earth bad.
Yeah.
So staying
Yes.
close to things that Mother Earth keeps my frequency higher and keeps my body healthier.
Mm-hmm.
But I also use food to help me ground. So it just depends on what I'm needing. So at the end of the day, after sessions, I look for more grounding foods like
Mm-hmm.
potatoes and grains and pastas and things like that. Proteins, more for the later part of the day. But I noticed that recognition of like, what am I putting into my body helps me stay more grounded and balanced
And it's almost
too.
like before spiritual practice, you kind of have to eat light. Like
Mm-hmm.
light food is like, it's hard to eat a big, giant, heavy protein space because it's like it makes your body more exhausted. And so I've noticed that too, where it's like in the mornings before my calls, I have fruit or I have something very light. And then afterward, I can have something a little bit more dense.
Yes. The other thing too, I think for the emotional aspect of myself, I need my tribe.
Mm,
Like that is something that it is the way I help establish balance. And what I mean by that is I have soul sister tribes
mm-hmm.
where are people that I can go to talk about what is going on with me emotionally. And with emotions, it's not about resolve. It's not about going in solutions and fixing things. The emotional body just wants to be seen, heard, and validated
Mm,
for the experience. And so I have people in my life that I know that I can go to that trust in my own inner wisdom, but are able to hold space for me as I process my feelings.
yeah.
I have really strong emotions. And so being able to come to peace with that has been such a game changer for my life, to be able to help me feel more peaceful and happy, to embrace the fact that I'm such an emotional person. And then I pick up on so much too, because that's really intense.
Mm-hmm.
So I need my tribe. That is, it's not, I can't just do this all on my own,
Yeah.
and so acknowledging that and reaching out when I need that support without feeling weak or feeling like I'm coming short or
Yeah.
whatever was really, really healthy for me. And it made me happier, not only with my beloved, but also a sister tribe. I think that's no,
Yeah.
no, like shame to my men. Cause I mean, the men are wonderful and I need them and I love my beloved, but there's just some things he just doesn't, he doesn't get as a
You
woman.
just need
So
some sister
I
power.
do. I'm like, I need a lady, some feminine energy right now. I'm surrounded by so much male energy all the time.
I
So
love
for
it.
me, that helps me establish balance too, because
Yeah.
I'm a very feminine person surrounded with all this male energy. And
Uh-huh.
some things I just don't get. And that's okay. That's why there's some
Totally.
things I don't get, that
Totally.
they're experiencing. So that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have so enjoyed this conversation. I just think it's fun to talk about our everyday life and the things that we try to implement. We're not perfect, but we hope during this conversation that it gave you some ideas about how to strengthen your own spiritual routines, your just daily routines, really honing in that you are a
Yes.
multidimensional being. You are physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And we will link in these show notes our previous podcast. It was in our first season as well, that talks more about what a multidimensional being is. We break down each of the categories and how that relates to us, diving deeper into physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and how you can
Yes.
implement more of that. That's one of the basic foundations that, we do teach in our practices, is seeing that and working through that. And so we'll have that in the show notes, but we just wanted to thank you so much for just joining in and listening to, our experiences and our life here today. And so we are so excited for some really amazing new tribe insight coming in pretty soon. And so stay tuned for that. We're really excited to create this Modern Sages tribe and have a lot of different ways of connection too. So please
Yeah.
stay tuned for that.
Yes, and one more reminder as well. We also have the tube of light meditation, the breath
Mhm.
practice, the mindfulness practice, all on our YouTube channel. So if you're looking for a way to start that practice for
Yeah.
yourself, please go and listen to those. I think that will be extremely helpful. And also too, this is our daily normal routines, and we do other things to implement the sacred in our lives with sacred ceremony and other things that we do. But this is just basic stuff like throughout our day. So just a reminder too that we incorporate other things, but this is just their real basic routines. Thank you for watching Modern Sages. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. If you want to follow us, we have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast as well.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our mystery school.